Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to our channel. We talk about all things fandom and we talk about them in a positive way. Now on Tuesdays, we talk about all things horror. And what do we have to talk about today? Well, today we have to talk about Halloween Ends. Why? Because there's been some important news that's come up and we have to talk about it. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so what exactly do we have to talk about? Well, James Jude Courtney, who plays Michael Myers, was at a convention called Spookala. And he had some very interesting things to say. Nothing that's going to be too spoilerish or anything else. However, it is newsworthy. So we're going to break down his comments and talk a little bit about what I think they mean. So here we go. So first off, as you do at a comic convention, you ask the person at any sort of comic convention or horror convention, you ask the person what is their favorite scene in all of their movies. Well, they asked him what his favorite scene was in all of the Halloween trilogy thus far. And he actually said that his favorite scene was the finale of the new film, that it was beautiful and powerful and that we were going to see why it was his favorite scene in all of the films so far. He also goes on to then talk about the fact that him and Jamie Lee Curtis discussed their final scene, talking about how it meant so much to both of them. They had a good cry over the final scene. And he said it's that energy of that conversation he had with Jamie Lee Curtis during the very final scene that they filmed together that meant everything, that you find out why this is his favorite scene. So now, here's the thing about that. He says that the ending was his favorite scene. And I think that that leads a little bit into, well, that means that him and Jamie Lee Curtis face off in the end. And this is not necessarily a spoiler. I've been talking about this exact scenario for a while, saying that it doesn't make sense if Jamie Lee Curtis dies at the beginning of the movie. If anything, she's going to die in the middle of the movie, or she's going to go on to the very end. And I've been saying this for a while now, that this was going to be the case. Now, the thing of it is, Michael Myers and her having a final scene together, there is some sort of justice there. However, a lot of people are going to be reading a lot into this, saying that it's beautiful and powerful, but how is it going to make everyone mad? Obviously, it means that Laurie Strode dies, or obviously it means that Michael Myers dies. Let me let you in on a little spoiler that I know that every fan of horror movies or movies in general should know. You're never going to satisfy everyone all at once. The reason that Jamie Lee Curtis can get up there and actually say that no matter what happens, she can get up there and say that it's going to make fans mad, that this is going to make fans very mad, it's going to upset them. The reason she could do that is that she's a smart person. She knows that if Laurie Strode dies, it's going to make people mad. If Michael Myers dies, it's going to make people mad. If they both die, it's going to make people mad. Translation, no matter what this end of this movie is, will actually be good enough for fans. And the answer is most fans will see it for what it is. A movie that they found a little bit of enjoyment in and that they didn't take too seriously. There are going to be some fans, however, that will be mad no matter what the outcome of the movie. And some of these fans will go on rants and rages talking about how horrible the movie actually is. Now, the simple fact of the matter is there's two things you have to ask yourself every time you go and see a movie. Did this movie make it so that I enjoyed it? Did this movie entertain me for an hour and a half to 2 hours? Because if it did, then you enjoyed it. Did this movie serve its purpose in telling me the story they intended to tell me? And if you can honestly sit there and say that, then you really got the movie that, they wanted to tell you. Now, there are some fans who insist that they can write better, but they're not writing the movies. These people are. So when I hear a statement by James Jude Courtney saying about how the final scene is powerful and beautiful, and that him and Jamie Lee Curtis had this sit-down talk about how this scene was going to play out and what it meant to them, and they cried together, I don't see this as a deciding factor in whether Jamie Lee Curtis is Laurie Strode or Jude James Courtney's Michael Myers dies. I don't see this as a definitive answer, and neither should anyone else. The fact of the matter is that we won't know until we know how this movie ends. Everything could change at the very last minute. It's possible that they get called back even up till the week or two before this movie comes out to do reshoots on the film that would drastically change the ending that he's talking about in general. Anything can happen up until that time. We don't have long to wait, but we still have a few months. So when I hear this and when I see this, I get excited for the fact that the actor enjoyed this scene the most. He said the other scene that he actually enjoyed the most was the fire massacre one, with the firemen getting to work with real firemen and everything was great, and he enjoyed it. He also talks about some other projects he's got coming up, a horror franchise project he can't talk about yet, and a TV show he can't talk about yet that has very horror-like qualities. Now, the horror movie franchise, I have a theory that that is actually going to be The Exorcist, because directors tend to cast the same people over and over again. It's just the way casting directors in Hollywood work with certain directors. The directors have a certain look for characters in mind, and they oftentimes will go and use the same actors. Now, as far as the TV show, I have no idea what this could be. I'm very interested in finding out when he's able to talk about it. However, the fact that he likes this scene, this final scene, does make me more excited to see it. And I do think that this means that Michael Myers and Laurie Strode both fall off the radio tower together and both crash land. Now, what this means for Jamie Lee Curtis, being that she's had so many years as this character off and on, and what it means to James Jude Courtney are two different things. But to her, it is a final no matter what. Now, he could very well be saying this is his most powerful and beautiful scene because Michael Myers gets up and walks away. The guy obviously loves horror movies. He's starred in a lot of them lately. And, for him, the villain winning might be more fun than everything else. So you might see Michael Myers get up or sit up at the end of this movie, and we may very well be getting that ending. So let me know what you think in the comments below, because YouTube likes it when we hear from you, and we like to hear from you too. Then also make sure you're sharing this video with all of your friends so they get the same great content you're getting. Then Miko says we need more subscribers. And this face, this one right here, wouldn't lie to you. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button because you don't want to disappoint Miko. And make sure you're hitting that notification bell so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, don't forget, at the end of the day, fandom is family.